advisory board for Palm Beach County and have been for many years. It's almost a chairman for life position, I feel. And one of the items that we put through was the lighting ordinance change, the full cutoff lighting in the unappropriated areas. But that's not retroactive. You can't go to a car dealership that is full of light pollution and showing, you know, only when they would change out their light is when that would kick in, or new development.
That was the main driving force behind that, was to get the car dealers under control.
Yeah. And we have one right here, Wayne Acres Ford on 10th Avenue, which is really lighting the sky.
Yeah.
So, but it's a cultural change. The more we talk about it, the more we talk to our elected representatives and about the importance of this, the better.
How do we get plugged into people like that? I mean,
Well, you invite me to these kind of meetings.
thank you.
That's one way. I'm not elected, I'm appointed. But, and I do have a blog in town, West Blackman City of Lake
I've
Worth
seen
blog.
that, yes.
And I explore a lot of topics on there. And this will, I have a YouTube channel, and so the video will be on there. And it's just about awareness, telling people.
Yeah. 10
The
years
importance
ago,
of this.
people didn't know what you're talking about if you said anything about sky glow, and now it's gratifying to see that at least people have heard about it and want to know more in most cases.
And we did redo our land development regulations recently, but it was such an enormous task, and to put everything together and put the pieces together and make sure that all the pieces work together, it's an ongoing process and an iterative process. So I expect more changes, and I know William Waters, who's head of the Community Sustainability Department, which was a nomenclature change too, but an important one, and I think it sends a message that the city is interested in sustainable technologies, and this would fall right into that. And William has mentioned the Dark Sky Initiative and applying more of that into our code.
Yolanda?
Mr. Brown had spoke to me about implementing a lighting study. I'm not sure if that's incorporated with the 2020 project or maybe the beginning of that.
Is that Jamie Brown, the head of Public
Yes.
Works? Okay.
Because we did have some lighting issues on our street, which is D, and because of some issues that happened, we did get 3 new light poles put in because the street was very dark. But I'm not sure if you knew or if anyone knew when that started, because I know Siemens was there at the last commission meeting, and I got one of his cards that I think that's who they're going to supply from, get the information from.
Yeah, they're working with FPL now to come up with new LED street lights.
So I contacted them and I urged them to, use more appropriate, practices.
Actually, one study I didn't mention at the International Dark Sky annual meeting last November, they had a lighting engineer named Nancy Clanton, and she was doing this multi-year study in 4 cities out west, and it was like, never remember them, San Diego, Seattle. I remember Seattle because they said it didn't rain the whole time they were there, and they needed wet streets to do some of the stuff. So they actually had to get a truck out to wet the streets down. But they changed lighting in like one block area, and they changed lighting levels. They mucked around a little bit with the color temperature of the bulbs, and what she found was that she could reduce the lumens by 75%. And when they did all these changes, they would invite people that lived in the area to come out and fill out surveys as to what they thought about that lighting. And they found that people accepted 75% less light if it was properly put and evenly illuminated. And they didn't even notice in most of those studies. I mean, that was, to me, pretty shocking. And she also found, I mean, they did all kinds of road studies, passenger finding targets on the side of the road based on how things are lit. And she found that non-uniform lighting, not uniform lighting, gave them better target detection. So there's a lot of neat things that are in that study. You can find it on the International Dark Sky website. You can actually, they have, I guess, YouTube versions of the talks, and hers runs about 20 minutes.
That's darksky.org.
Okay.
I was just curious
And just look for annual meeting.
if someone could just share, are there any other communities or cities in our country that have implemented strategies such as these successfully?
Palm Beach.
And mostly out west. Arizona is pretty much where it started because of the telescopes.
Flagstaff.
Yeah.
Makes sense.
Flagstaff, Tucson, all those areas. I just found out that Sanibel in Florida passed a dark sky ordinance that is really quite good. It's not the best, but they passed it in 2000. And it wasn't to take effect until next year. So all of a sudden, here we are almost 15 years later. Everyone's had 15 years to come up to code. Now everybody's complaining. So, oh, we can't change our lights, we can't do this. So I'm going to be on the phone with the city manager tomorrow morning to talk with them about how to deal with the people, how to, you know, what their alternatives are. You know, they're saying, oh, it's too expensive to switch out all their lights. Well, in most cases, you can get by doing a lot of cheap things and still coming out with a good result. So what they really need to look at is that, hey guys, you had 15 years. You know, that was really generous. Most dark sky ordinances will give you 5 years before they start being enforced. And
If you go to our beach at night, the Lake Worth Beach, now that it's been redone, all the lighting has been replaced with turtle-friendly lighting. And a lot of people don't think it's enough light and have some safety concerns about it, but it is done according to spec. And in fact, there are signs on the building that say that this building is lit with turtle-sensitive lighting.
yeah.
And that you can't replace it with other lighting.
I think that's
So it is publicly noticed, and
yeah.
and it's educational too when people see that sign.
And it's probably due to Chris McGoy. I know he called me very early on before the casino was even under, you know, they didn't know what they wanted to do with it, and asked about lighting, and I passed them on to other people that were good in lighting, and he made use of pretty much all the resources he could to come up with a good plan.
Well, and the state, I know, has laws about construction on the coast, and all the sheltered and turtle-friendly lighting has to,
Yeah.
and that's a state-enforced thing. So it wasn't the city going over and above; it was meeting the state standard,
Yeah.
and enforced by DEP
Yeah.
and HERB to the
And
county.
they can only really enforce that because of the renourishment projects. So if the area wasn't renourished, they wouldn't have a leg to stand on. So it's because that area was renourished that they have the ability to say, yes, you have to have turtle lighting there.
It's a model ordinance. You're saying it's state, Florida, coastal.
Well, it's a coastal construction control line issue. Everything that's pretty much east of the coastal construction control line, which is just a line they draw on the sand, basically, has to have specific permitting. And if the areas were nourished, the permitting's different. Because if you have a wider beach, you're going to have more of an effect on sea turtles.
I had two comments. One was you talked about next generation not seeing sky. There's a book called Nature Deficit Disorder that talks about children and infants imprinting, imprinting on the face and smells of their parents. And one of the things that infants are imprinting on as they lie there in their cribs or on their back is light bulbs.
Mhm.
And the other thing was, I'm a botanist and horticulturist, so the effect on plants with light. The most common example that's always used is poinsettias, which are so dark sensitive. You really have to have 3 months of uninterrupted 10 to 12 hours of darkness in order for them to set their red bracts. And if they don't, even if you have a sliver of light that goes off, then it disrupts that cycle.
Yeah.
So they're always a beacon of an example of what light does to plants. But it's much more complex than that.
Right.
When you talk about red and blue light, plants photosynthesize and they take in the color spectrum, which is, red light, blue light, green light, it's the rainbow
Actually,
of
they
light.
reflect green.
They do reflect green,
So
yes.
you have a lot of blue and a lot of red that they peak at, so that's really their favorite.
But for the physiology of a plant, during their life cycle, they use certain spectrums more than others to produce certain functions. And light, of course, has length, wavelength has length, and it also has density. So like red light is shorter and denser, whereas blue light is longer. Shorter, I'm sorry.
Yeah, just
Blue light is shorter and red light is longer, right?
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
a lot more energy in blue light, which is probably why it's so disruptive to animals.
And so plants react to that. A plant will set fruit in the presence of red light. I know that animals are always the example that are used. Turtles and animals spur decisions
there's
sometimes, but
Not so much good data on plants, unfortunately. I'm sure there's.
I wanted to take back to the award you got in 2012 and ask you, for the Boca Raton yacht and
Yes, in the racket club.
How much, what they had in there before, what you retrofitted it to, and how much it cost, and what the payback is in terms of, did this investment cost like Boca Raton Racket Club a lot of money? Or just give us some
Well, they had 186 globe fixtures on their landscape. So they're the big brown white globes.
right.
They each had most of them had fluorescence by the time we retrofit, so they didn't see that much of an energy change. We had them changed to a semi-cutoff fixture that was louvered, so vast majority of light went straight down, and put in amber compact fluorescence initially. They're working on getting an amber LED in. What they found, not so much energy savings, but they found that their grounds were brighter and the beach was darker. I mean, before that I could see the tops of the buildings from the beach all brightly lit, and after they did that retrofit, you can't see anything. So the people were very pleased because their pool deck is now way brighter and they feel safer, and their grounds are all more evenly lit. One place that we did make a big energy difference was the Boca Mar, which condominium south of the Yacht and Racket Club. Using some Gulf oil money, we got a grant to retrofit 70 of their lights. They used to have drop globe lights over every door on the north side of their building, so the whole north side lit the beach pretty badly. Initially we had them tint the bulbs amber, which helped a lot. I mean, wavelength in turtles is really important. Turtles don't see the reds and ambers as well. Marine critters don't see those wavelengths because that's the first color that's filtered out by the water. We put in 7-watt LEDs instead of 13-watt compact fluorescents, so they saved about 50% on their electric bill. And to this day, they put that project in 2010, and they have yet to lose a light bulb. They're the same original light bulbs we put in there. LEDs run about 25,000 probably realistically hours. And incandescent runs 2,000 hours.
I thought it was
Fluorescent about 7,000 hours. So.
Yeah.
So, the payback, is it, you've done like a payback calculation on like,
Not
I
on.
mean, certainly it sounds like the labor, if you're not switching out that LEDs, like you're not switching the light bulb back for 25,000 hours, you know, that's labor, you know, you send your maintenance guy out to change a bulb, that's
Yeah.
obvious savings. But if you're using half the electricity, that's like a measurable benefit.
Yeah.
You know, that,
It cost us about 25,000 to retrofit everything, put in proper fixtures with the amber LEDs. Best guess would be probably 4 or 5 years, and that would be their return on investment. And from that point on, they're saving money.
and the cost of LEDs is
Coming
increasing,
down
decreasing
quickly.
quickly.
Ambers are still pretty expensive. They're obviously a niche market, more for coastal areas, because
Okay.
we're kind of demanding it. Anywhere else, you're not going to see a lot of demand for amber bulbs. So it's a little harder to get them, and if you do find them, I just bought some for about between $20 and $30, which for an LED is quite a bit still.
So Lake Worth has their own utility
Mhm.
company, so there would be incentives to like,
Rush,
like,
you know, there.
yeah, if they can like use less electricity, that's better for
Mhm.
utilities' bottom line,
Yeah.
or the city's bottom line.
Yeah, FPL also has that strategy that any energy they can save means fewer power plants they have to build or maintain, or, you know, that it saves them money
Yeah.
as well.
So I've held like a couple of meetings like this, and we've kind of have a little dark sky Lake Worth group that's it's not not active in terms of like meetings and stuff, but I think if people signed up here tonight, and you can send out an email if you want to like stay in touch and work together on this. I think we have a couple opportunities. One is, and Wes can maybe correct me if I'm wrong, but one is, it certainly seems like we could put together some kind of ordinance for Lake Worth that would be enforceable and create the type of lighting that we, the more desired type of full cutoff fixtures and sensitivity to the color spectrum. And two, to encourage people like on an individual basis, if you have like light trespass on your properties, and it's city lights, it's like the utility that lights. There's a official Clay Lindstrom who we should like communicate with him about these
We should be
issues.
involved in the lighting study.
What's that?
We should be involved in the lighting
There
study.
is, apparently I was told there was a consultant that's already been hired and that they're going to be doing a study and making decisions as to what to do.
So there's
I don't think that they see that this is part of that process, and I'd like to get plugged into the process, because it's not like we have a company we're representing or a product. We just want whatever choices they make to use some of these facts appropriately, use them, like the downlighting versus the uplighting. Right,
Just
Wes?
better,
Am I
better informed decision making. That's what should be happening. and we should encourage, and that's just by information and letting the people who are making those decisions know that this is the way to go.
Well, I would say that I reached out to the Chamber, Mary Lou Bedford at the Chamber of Commerce. Used to be located in Lake Worth, but they've kind of relocated out to Wellington, but they still represent the Lake Worth area. And she, I invited her to the meeting, and they actually have a board meeting tonight. So she said that she would really appreciate like some sort of summary of what people's feelings were about this, and like a report back. Now Wes has been videotaping this, so I think that's going to be immensely helpful in letting not only Mary Lou and the chamber, but also we can refer this to our city elected officials and
Yeah,
also
one of them
members
said they wanted to have some information to review, so this video tape could maybe be
Right. And I do have a YouTube channel, and my name is Wes, W-E-S, Blackman, B-L-A-C-K-M-A-N. 3 syllables there.
Yolanda.
Pretty easy to remember.
Mr. McBoy had asked when he gave me the Siemens card that he was there, that we should be, I didn't bring it tonight, but that we could, I think he wants me to sort of, I don't know, that we could email him and kind of tell him how important it was to get an initiative started here. That was kind of like the thing that I understood that what he was trying to do, or trying to say to me that, email him. If anyone else is interested, email them too and ask them to email. So there's a greater, I guess, consensus of what's really going on and what we'd like to see as residents. Oh, no, yes. Okay.
I would say that's true to all the elected officials, the mayor and the 3 other commissioners too, and all of their emails are found on the city's website, which is lakeworth.org.
And the phone numbers, as I found out.
Sometimes the chamber runs contests or promotes a certain idea, and to promote a green business, particularly one that's green with its lighting, it might be a great thing for the Lake Worth or Wellington Chamber to do. Is really promote that at their meetings and then encourage businesses to do that, and like maybe offering a prize or or something for a business that puts in dark sky lighting.
Mm-hmm.
And then people can actually see that business and the effect it would have because you showed various examples of that.
Yeah, and there are examples in the general area. I know in Martin County, Representative up there, Ed Fielding, said that he had the county change their lighting to full cutoff and not LED or anything. It was a few years ago, but they ended up saving 60% off their electric bill, which he thought was pretty significant.
That is significant.
Yeah.
And so in the case of Lake Worth, again, to just reiterate, the electric bill is us. In other words, it's the taxpayers. We're paying that electric bill. So, I think we have like a strong case to I know on Federal Highway where I live, there's, what are those drop acorns?
They're actually the ones on 10th Avenue coming in. I'm not sure about Federal
Or Dixie?
or Dixie. I didn't drive on Dixie.
Okay.
But the ones on 10th Avenue coming in
Okay.
are those drop globe things,
Drop load.
but they're a semi-cutoff drop globe. The light is up in the metal part.
Okay.
So they do scatter light above the 90 degree. They're not a full cutoff fixture. If you took that globe off, they'd be a full cutoff fixture.
Right. Right, so there's some, and that kind of retrofit would be less expensive than what you did in Boca?
Yeah.
When you're talking about those major highways, that's DOT, isn't it? They have say-so over, like if you wanted to now change lights in Lake Worth, you couldn't get the little lights you have now, they go much higher. And so I don't know that we have any say-so on that.
10th Avenue is a city road now. It was converted from the county to the city when the road work was done. And so the city's responsible for the maintenance on 10th
Mark,
Avenue.
that's
It's not federal, federal is the state.
Federal is a state and county road, and so is like Worth Road, Lucerne.
Yeah, because they have, every state drop acorns all around.
Yeah.
So tell us a little about that in terms of you. I know you did. I saw one of your videos about the conversion of Olive Avenue from a 4-lane road to a 2-lane road.
Yeah, that was very significant. I don't know if many of you were here during that period of time when Olive, between the Lake Worth line, which is the canal, the C-51 canal, and Southern Boulevard, was 5 lanes with the center turn lane. And it was essentially a football field's worth of asphalt. And a revolutionary change happened in the 90s when they brought in a transportation planner from Canada and put West Palm Beach on a street diet, essentially, and reduced the laneage to 2 lanes with the center turn lane and some medians. And I know that I lived where I am now after that work had happened, but I know that people on my street had really suffered through a lot of cut-through traffic between Olive and Dixie because it was such a thoroughfare and people were using that as a bypass to avoid Dixie and less traffic lights. And of course you have all the residential properties along Olive too and West Palm Beach. So it really created a barrier between neighborhoods, between blocks, and access to the water. And I think if you talk to anyone in that area now, after living through the hassle of the construction, that they really are benefiting from that. And I know that my road in particular in Lake Worth doesn't have the cut-through traffic that it had before. So it's getting away from lighting. I'm not sure exactly what street lights.
I mean, I'm just bringing it back. That was like, so that was really a citizen and a city. That was a city transportation official.
Yeah. What happened there is that the city of West Palm Beach had a change in their form of government and went to a strong mayor form of government.
Small mayor.
Strong mayor.
Mayor.
We have a commission manager of government here, where the manager and the administration has most of the power, but the commission gives general policy direction and that kind of thing. West Palm Beach voted in a strong mayor, and Mayor Nancy Graham at the time was the first strong mayor, and she brought in a team of people that were her people that were going to address some longstanding urban design issues, and that was one of them. And all the traffic calming devices and everything that you see in West Palm Beach is really from that period.
Yeah. But so that was done with the blessing of the state.
Yes, they had to wrestle with FDOT.
Okay.
And FDOT